My name is Montana Reid, and I graduated from UBC Okanagan, the School of Engineering, in 2010. I actually attended a meet and greet for the faculty who were starting the School of Engineering here in Okanagan. And since I was living in Penticton at the time, I thought it'd be neat to be close proximity to my parents and family and be able to attend what was a world-class School of Engineering. On my first day, I broke my nose. We actually were attending all the Frosh Week events, and we were playing ultimate frisbee out on the field just behind the engineering building here. And somebody took their step forward to throw the frisbee and actually rammed my face with their head. And I couldn't see anything. I didn't know anyone. And so I drove myself to the hospital after I stopped crying and was in the hospital. So that was my first day on campus. But my first day of engineering school, I had these epic bruises under my eyes. And the classes weren't in portables quite yet. We were actually on the new third floor of the Arts and Sciences building, which were still under construction. So there was no Wi-Fi quite yet. So our laptops couldn't connect to anything, but the teachers were out there. They were excited to do what they were doing for the first time ever, offering these first classes. And so I think we were all just excited to be there, bruises and all. It was a lot smaller courses. So nowadays I walk into the classes and there's sometimes hundreds of students. When I walked into my first class, I think our cohort was around 70-ish students. And so by having the 5-year program, that guaranteed they had some more time to put everything together and also keep our cohort size at something reasonable. And despite their best efforts, our cohort size was still really small. We graduated with about 9 people in my electrical engineering program, so it was a tiny cohort at the time, even though we had some students from the 2006 first year joining us when we graduated. But those last 3 years were probably the most fun in many ways because those were specifically electrical courses. And so I had a lot of fun getting more into the digital courses, into some of the computer programming, embedded systems courses. So it was really neat to do. It was really neat to be doing something that I was really focused and interested in. And it was neat to do that alongside my job, which was also in the digital and semiconductor industry. So I knew that all of my courses that I was taking nowadays transferred directly into my job that I was doing here in Kelowna. My transition from school to workforce was really, really easy. I had been working at ESS Technology since the summer of 2006. And so ESS Technology walked into our design group. So it was AppSci 170, and we had designed these ball machines. And for whatever reason, it wasn't the ball machine that interested them, it was my 3D model and my physics and everything that was going on. Which in hindsight was weird because they had nothing to do with physics. They were an electrical and semiconductor company, but they liked my 3D model. And so they hired me. So before the co-op program had even started, I was working at ESS Technology, and I worked for them for the summers of 2006, 7, my co-op terms 8, 9, and then on graduation, I just showed up and all my stuff was already there. So for me, it was a really easy transition since I'd been there for so long. So they're a mixed signal company, but digital is half of that mixed signal. They've got that interface between digital and analog, and so I worked in that side. I started in the computer programming and then went lower and lower level to digital and loved it all the way down. I worked for a decent amount of time at ESS Technology. I started in 2006 and I worked until the end of 2017 and gave them my 6 months notice, middle of 2017. So I've been retired, quote unquote, since the very end of 2017. Bringing UBC, which was now a world-renowned name, to the Okanagan Valley was a huge deal. And it was a big enough deal to get me interested in coming here to the engineering program and being a part of growing that, being part of some of the first engineering undergrad societies and some of their earliest courses and trying to guide some of the direction of what type of coursework might be there. It was a big deal. You knew that it was going to be something that grew to be something very large. And even though we didn't know what it would turn into, it was going to be something that really affected Kelowna. I think people realize, everyone realizes now, the UBC has grown into something that is in a partnership with the city and will be here for a long time and continue to give back to the community, which is pretty exciting. I had a couple of opportunities to work abroad. I was picked up by some companies in Silicon Valley and they wanted me to move there. And I decided to stay in Canada. And there were different reasons for that. Some of that was around the NAFTA visas. But staying in Canada, I think, is a really important thing nowadays. Not just because I think Canada is an awesome country, but because we have a lot of smart people here. And there is this draw to companies in Europe or companies in other areas of North America. And I think keeping talent here is really important. And so that was a choice that I happened to make that worked out really well for me. And did contribute to my early retirement, where I'm getting to do whatever it is I want to do these days. So that, I think, was a really important choice. Another important choice that I made was to totally switch up what I was doing. And so I would say my job nowadays, even though I'm retired, my job is really business development. And so I do work every day, and that has nothing to do with engineering. But that's okay. Engineering provided a lot of foundational skills. My employment in the engineering field provided a lot more social experiences. And now I can fearlessly jump into this other totally different area and succeed in it and thrive in it and help. And I'm actually probably contributing more to our local economy than I ever was. The university does have a lot of outreach, which has been really nice. And so I've kept in touch with a lot of my professors, and a few of them, like Dr. Holtzman and Dr. Hufar and Dr. Tahiri, and a few others have reached out to me, Dr. Chang as well, saying, can you come back to the university and talk to the students and tell them a little bit about what you've done? And so I've talked to them about my role at ESS Technology and other things that I've done with my career. And then I've been lucky enough to serve on a couple of advisory committees for the university. And so that's a way for me to be able to come back from what I've done in the industry and bring back some of that knowledge and what I'm seeing and some of the pros and cons of the program to the university, which hopefully is helpful. It is a fun back and forth with the university. For a long time, I relied on the university to provide me the information I needed to go into the workforce and do what I do. And it's nice to be able to at least think that I can take some of my experience and give that back to the university. And maybe they get to learn something from me nowadays.